Hello, my dear student. You're most welcome to Dhirasa YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to start the SYGC Commerce Economics for 2020 and 21 batch. So, let's start the chapter number 2, Consumer Behavior. Now, this is SYGC, topic is consumer behavior. So, my dear student, listen carefully and grasp it. This is very easy concept of consumer behavior. So, my dear student, consumer behavior is also known as the utility. This is the part 1 of utility chapter. Now, do you know what is utility? Firstly, I explain you as a commonly that utility means anything that satisfies the human want. For example, like if a person is thirsty, so that particular person needs a water. If the person gets a water, their wants are fulfilled, so that is a full satisfaction. So that water has the power to satisfy the thirst of a person. It means the water has a utility. Okay, my dear student. So, according to some economists, here is the Professor Stanley Jevons says that utility is the capacity of a goods to satisfy human want. Here, once again, listen carefully. Professor Stanley Jevons says that utility is the capacity of goods to satisfy human want. Now, in book meaning is the utility means usefulness of a commodity. But in our economic sense, we say that utility means want satisfying power of a commodity. I take one different example. For example, if a person is a habitual of a smoking, so smoking has the power to satisfy the wants of a person. So the cigarette is the smoking. So cigarette is a commodity and that satisfies the wants of a person. So that is a utility. So utility means the want satisfying power of a commodity. These two meanings, the meaning of these two are the common, but the statement is different. Then, my dear student, you can write any one meaning, whether the Professor Stanley Jevons or you can write this one also. The next thing we are going to do the features of utility. My dear student, the features means the overall whole contains. See here number 1, the relative concept. Relative concept means the utility is totally related to time as well as a place. Utility differ from time to time and also place to place. So this is a relative concept. So here we can write the time and place. Now I will explain you with the help of one example. For example, the cotton clothes in summer and woolen clothes in winter have a greater utility. And similarly, the woolen clothes have a more utility in Kashmir than in Mumbai. These two examples are related to time and place. If we goes according to the time, what is the time utility? Just an example, the time means the winter season. Like the woolen clothes in winter have a greater utility as compared to the summer season. Now, if we go through according to the places, so we can say that woolen clothes have more utility in Kashmir than in Mumbai. So this is the relative concept. the utility is a totally different from time as well as a place. So this is a relative concept. And if you want to write in an economical way, then you can write like this: the utility is related to time and place. It differs from time to time and place to place. Okay. Now, this is the first thing, the relative concept. Number two, my dear student, is the subjective concept. Subjective concept means the utility of a commodity cannot be same for all the individuals. It differs from person to person and place to place due to the differences in their taste, in their preferences, in their choices, liking, disliking, etc. For example, just take a simple example of the subjective concept is that if any person, for example, if here is a person, the one person is a healthy person and the second one is a blind person. If these two people are going to a garden like any park, so the healthy person will get a greater utility as compared to the blind person. So this is the example of a subjective concept, my dear student. See, the both persons are going to the garden, they're going to the park, but the healthy person gets more satisfaction as compared to the blind person. So this is the subjective concept. Hence we say that the subjective concept, the utility is a different from person to person. Got it? And one more example, my dear student, utility of a book is a greater for an educated person than an illiterate person. This is also an example of a subjective concept, because if any educated person is there, so he will get a more satisfaction and the more utility with the books. And if there is any illiterate person, then that person will not get any satisfaction with the book. So my dear student, now the third one is the utility and usefulness are not same. You know what is the utility? Utility means the power. Utility means the power of a commodity to satisfy the human wants. And the usefulness means what? Usefulness means the benefit derived by the person. Okay, so these things are totally different. Now just I am going to explain with the help of one more example. For example, a cigarette has a utility for a smoker. So that is a utility. But we also know that it does not have any benefit. It does not have any usefulness. That means the cigarette at the same time, it has the utility, but it is not usefulness for the people. So that's why then economists and we also says that the utility and usefulness are not same. They are totally different. Now the fourth one, my dear student, not same as pleasure. Not same as pleasure means the utility and pleasure are not same. That means they are totally different. Now here one more example is that, for example, if any patient goes to a doctor and so the doctor gives the injection, and injection has the utility, but for a patient this is not a useful, this is not a pleasure, this is very painful, so it does not give any pleasure to the patient. So that's why we say that the utility and pleasure are not same. Now the next point, my dear student, the utility differ from satisfaction. You know what is satisfaction? Utility means the power of a commodity to satisfy human wants. But satisfaction is totally different. You know what is the satisfaction? The satisfaction is an experience by a person. But utility is just an expected satisfaction. Utility we get by just seeing that any particular things. For example, here if any thirsty person and if he saw that there is a pot of water So he gets a utility. He's satisfied. He thinks that there is a water and I will get it. I will be satisfied. So that's a utility. Because the person knows that that pot has a water. And the water has the power to satisfy a want. But actually they will satisfied after the consumption. So the satisfaction is the actual realization and utility is just the power of a commodity. So that's why we say that utility and satisfaction are totally different from person to person. Now sixth one, not easily measurable. My dear student, utility is totally a psychological concept. This is not easily measurable. So that is why we say that the utility is not easy measurable. It is an invisible and intangible, and the utility cannot be measured cardinally. You know what is cardinally, my dear student? Cardinally means in numbers. We can't say that I got 2 utilities or I got 3 utilities. One example, for example, a thirsty person after drinking water may derive higher or lower level of utility, but never says that the 2 utilities or 3 utilities. So this is known as not easily measurable because the utility cannot be measured cardinally. Not cardinally, I say that. It is always ordinally number. Always ordinally. Next one, my dear student, utility depends upon the intensity of want. The intensity of want, my dear student, is the urgency. Depends upon the intensity of want. My dear student, intensity of want means the urgency of want. The urgent the need, the utility is more. When there is no need of urgency, then utility is less. For example, we say that here the utility as the urgency of want, utility also is the greater. As the wants are limited, the wants are declined, utility also decline. For example, utility of a food is higher for a hungry person and utility declines with the satisfaction of hunger. So this is an example of depends upon the intensity of want. Next one thing, my dear, it is the basis of demand. Here says that, one simple example, if any teacher, so teacher demands for a chalk for writing, but the chalk is not used by any housewives. So it depends upon the basis of demand. Here we say that utility forms the basis of demand. If a commodity does not give any utility, a person may not demand it. He will demand a commodity only if it gives him utility. Example, demand for pen is more by students because utility of pen is more for them. And the last one, my dear student, the utility is ethically neutral. You know neutral means what? Neutral means the no ethical consideration. It is morally neutral. A commodity which possesses utility may satisfy any want. It does not make any difference between good, bad, moral or immoral. For example, the knife. Here is a very important example, the knife. Knife has a utility for a housewife. This is for a housewife to cut the vegetables. And for a killer, the same thing, it is also used by a killer for harm somebody. So this is useful for both, but their professions are different. Housewives use for the cutting of vegetables and killer use for harming somebody. So this is a ethically neutral. Here is a no any a morally neutral. It is a moral neutral. No ethical consideration. So these are the points covered in the features of utility, my dear student. Once again, we just go through like this. Meaning of utility. Utility means usefulness of a commodity, but in economics, utility means the one satisfying power of a commodity. Features: the relative concept relate to time and place. Subjective concept from person to person. Utility and usefulness not same as a pleasure, and different from satisfaction, not easily measurable, depends upon the intensity of want. Intensity means the urgency of want. It is the basis of demand, and this is ethically neutral. So my dear student, how is the lecture you got? I hope you will get clear your the utility, meaning of utility and the features of utility. If you go this thing, you can get a simply 5 marks in your exam. So my dear student, please comment in my comment box, and if you have any doubt, you can ask it freely. So here is the most welcome, my dear student. So please subscribe my channel, dear sir, and share these videos to your friends, colleagues. Thank you.